It's no secret that on June 20th, 2023, Amazon KDP is changing their printing costs. So this is going to affect paperback and hardcover books. This should not affect ebooks. This video is going to be a full review on the whole process and the changes, and I'll also be going through the one-time bulk list price update. That's what I plan to do with my books, and I'll definitely explain why throughout this video. Before I get into it, I just want to say that I do not claim to be an expert, so please do your own research on this topic. But this video is going to be a complete full review going over all the changes, the FAQ, and the differences between the old pricing and the new pricing, and then I'll go over my opinion on everything. So you might have logged into your KDP account and seen this notice on your front page or your bookshelf page. So you might have a different notice than me. If you didn't have any books that will actually earn you 0 royalties after the change, then your notice will be worded slightly different. But I have 2 books that actually would be 0 after the change, and that's because I was testing out some low pricing, seeing if they would increase my sales and reach of my books because they're in highly competitive niches. But I never really adjusted the price later on as they weren't really selling very well. So I was able to download this CSV file and see those books, and it's just 2 of them, and I'm not too worried about it. But that's why I have this notice here that says you currently have books that will earn 0 royalties after printing costs change. While not required, you may choose to update your list prices to avoid a change in royalties. You can update your list prices at any time individually on the pricing tab, or until June 19th, 2023, you can run a one-time bulk list price update on your live paperback and hardcover list prices to continue to earn the same royalties after printing costs change. So I'm definitely going to be doing the one-time bulk list price update, but there are some issues with that I have, but the other scenario, going through all of my books individually, is just not something that's going to work for me. But I'll get into that later on throughout the video. So first, let's learn about all the printing cost changes. So this is the FAQ page for the printing cost changes, and we're going to go through this whole page together. I may summarize a few sections just so that this video doesn't end up being an hour long, but I really want to deep dive into this and hopefully answer any questions that you may have so that way you can make a better decision regarding your own books. So printing cost changes FAQ. On June 20th, 2023 at 12 a.m. UTC, we're making changes to printing costs to better align with today's cost of materials and labor. So that's their reasoning for upping the prices, and I honestly think that we can all agree that inflation has been really high and the cost of everything has gone up significantly within the last few years, so this is probably long overdue, so I am not shocked by this at all. As a result, the minimum list price for your print books, paperback, and hardcover will change. While not required, you may update your list prices for your print books to maintain your current royalties after the new printing costs go into effect. If you make any updates to an existing print book after June 20th, it will need to comply with the new minimum list price. Please find frequently asked questions in the new printing costs below. So, looking at the contents of all the different printing costs here, they have all these different sections that you can go to. So I'm just going to start at the top and go towards the bottom. I will also have a video showing the different pricing. So throughout your KDP bookshelf, like, you can select any of the books that you have and go to edit price details, and you can actually see the new price update. So I will show a video on that as well. But let's get through this first. So how are printing costs changing? There will be 3 changes to printing costs. An increase in the fixed cost for all paperback and hardcover books to cover the higher cost of labor, paper, and other materials. A new fixed and per page cost for paperback and hardcover books with large trim sizes. So this means that if your book is a larger size, then the pricing is going to be different than a book that's smaller. So they're determining a large trim size is either larger than 6.12 inches in width or 9 inches in height. So if you have a 6x9 book, then you're on the smaller side. And if you have a book larger than what's listed here, then you'll be in that price range instead. And this is definitely going to matter. A decrease in the per page cost for certain color ink print books ordered from some marketplaces as outlined in the printing costs table. So this is definitely going to vary depending on what marketplace you're selling your book, how many pages your book has, what size book you have, whether you have black and white ink, premium color ink, standard color ink, all of that is going to matter. So they have charts at the bottom of the page, but let's just get through all these other FAQs to get a better understanding. So this also says, note the printing cost changes will affect the cost of proof and author copies. You can view the accurate price in your cart when you place an order. So that makes sense because when you buy an author copy, normally you're just paying for the printing costs. And since those are going up, that's also going to go up. So when will these take effect? It'll be on June 20th at 12 a.m. UTC. You can use a time zone converter if you want to know what the actual time is. And before I go any further, I just want to note that I notice a lot of people freaking out about this or being really worried and saying this is going to be like detrimental to self-publishers. And I just think everybody should take a minute, relax, like read this over, because price changes are nothing new. Price changes happen all the time in the world, and you can still make the same royalties by upping your prices. And yes, you may have to up your price $1 or more in order to make the same, but for some of your books, you may not have to up them by that much. And in my opinion, if your book is truly worth it and somebody wants it, then that dollar is not going to make a huge difference to them if they're going to buy it or not. And not everyone may agree with me, but I think that everyone just needs to take a minute and relax, because pricing changes is nothing new. Everyone who publishes with KDP is going to be going through with this. And other companies that publish the books on Amazon already have been dealing with this. And I think that's why we see such a wide range of prices on Amazon, because everyone has a different cost if they're not with KDP. We all have the same amount of cost that we have to do. So I think that this is definitely going to be a change, and it will be a bit of a bummer if you're charging more for your book and making the same. But I do not think this is going to be detrimental or it's going to ruin KDP or anything like that. Amazon is in the business of making money. So if this was something that was going to start preventing sales or make less sales, that in turn would make Amazon less money. And that's not something that they want. So I think that there's no reason to freak out right now. I think that this will definitely have an impact, but I don't think it's going to be detrimental like some people are thinking it's going to be. And I don't think it's going to be a drastic dip in sales or royalties. I think there may be a dip or maybe a change, and I might be wrong on that. But that's how I'm currently feeling, and I guess after this goes into effect, then everyone will kind of see the real impact it's going to have. So how can I prepare for the changes to printing costs? Your new minimum list price will either increase or decrease depending on your book's trim size, ink type, and marketplace availability. You're not required to update your list prices, but this could result in changes to your royalties. So for example, if I don't update my 2 books that I have at a lower price, I'll make $0 royalties, which they say right here, if your price is below the new minimum list price, you'll receive 0 royalties. So note that if you make updates to an existing print book after June 20th, it will need to comply with the new minimum price. To prepare for the change, you can review your minimum list price for each of your books and decide if you want to update it. They have a number of resources to help you make this decision. So I did download the list on the bookshelf that it's talking about, and I saw those 2 books. There's additional information on the pricing tab for each of your live print books. And then coming soon, the printing costs and royalty calculator will be updated in a few weeks to show estimated royalties before and after the printing cost change. If you decide you'd like to update your list prices, you can either choose to update them individually, which I recommend doing them individually if you don't have a lot of books. So if you're someone that has 1,000 books, then I don't recommend going through all of them individually, because that is just very, very time consuming. But if you have like 20, 30, 50 books, then maybe going through individually is better. Or you can run a one-time bulk list price update, which I'll go over more of my opinions on that later. But one thing I want to note right now, in case you are thinking about doing it, is that if you do the bulk list price update, it's going to change your pricing to get you the same royalties. So that means if you have your book at $7.99 and you need to up it by like 30 cents, then your new pricing is going to most likely be like $8.29 or whatever it needs to be in order to get you the same royalties. So that means your pricing may end up kind of weird, Because normally we do like 0.49 or 0.99, something like that, because that's just how traditional pricing is. But you can end up with books with like 0.34, or it could be $10.62, like some weird pricing going on there, and that may also impact your sales. But I'll get more into that later on in the video. So changes to list prices. You are not required to update your list prices prior to the printing cost change. Just note that you may get decreased royalties or even zero royalties. So where can you find your new minimum list price? Well, you can go to your pricing tab on your bookshelf, which I will show that throughout the video, and I'm most likely going to be using my personal book because I've shown that many times on the channel already. So how do I know which books will fall below the new minimum list price? So if any of your books fall below it, you have that sheet over here, the download the CSV file that you can download and look at the affected books. How can I update my list prices in bulk? So on your page right here, you can click one-time bulk list price update, which I'll be doing in this video as well. Optional bulk update, when will it happen? You can run a one-time bulk update for all of your live print book list prices. Keep your royalties the same after printing costs change. You have until June 19th to start this update. Sooner you do it, the more likely your prices will be live ahead of the printing cost changes. Once you confirm you would like to run the one-time bulk update, changes can take several weeks. So it's noted that if you want this done before the actual printing cost update, is to do it sooner rather than later. Because if you do it June 18th and it changes June 19th and it takes several weeks to update, you may end up getting a decrease in your royalties or no royalties before it was actually changed. So how does a bulk update work across marketplaces? Your primary marketplace list price will increase so that you earn the same royalties after printing cost changes. If you manually set your list prices in your non-primary marketplaces, those list prices will increase to earn the same royalties. If you did not manually set your non-primary marketplace list prices, your primary marketplace list price will be converted to the applicable marketplace currency. Basically, they will figure it out and they will adjust the royalties as needed. So, what happens if I change my list prices after the starting of the bulk update? They don't recommend you do this because it may mess with the actual bulk update and your manual change may get overridden by the bulk update. So, royalty payments, will the printing cost changes affect my royalty payment amounts? Yes, it will. For books shipped after June 20th, 2023, the new costs will apply. So depending on what your price is and everything like that, your royalties will be changed. Will this change affect when I receive my royalty payments? Nope, they will go on as scheduled. They again go into effect June 20th, 2023. So now we've gone through all of that. Let's get into the actual changes. So these are the charts going over the fixed prices for this update. So I'm not going to go through every single line individually, but I'm going to go over a few just to give you an idea. So this left column is regular trim sizes, and then right is large trim sizes. So again, if your book is bigger than 6.12 inches by 9 inches, then this is going to be the column for you. So let's start with paperback, and this is the old printing cost page. So let's just start with this top column, and we're going to go through Amazon.com, but you can do the same thing for all the other countries. So for paperback, black ink with 24 to 108 pages, the fixed cost used to be $215, and the new fixed cost is $230. And it says there's no per page cost. So now if you have a book bigger than 6.12 by 9, your new fixed cost is $284 when it used to also be $215. So that's going to be a bigger difference. The smaller version is a 15-cent difference, and the bigger version is going to be, let me just do the math really quick, a 69-cent difference. So that's just something to note, that if you want to make the same amount of royalties, you're going to have to increase your pricing by, for example, like 69 cents in order to make up for that added cost. So scrolling down here, for 110 to 828 pages, the fixed cost, let's see here, is $1 per book. So this is for Amazon.com. For Amazon.com on the old pricing, it's 0.85 cents. So that again is a 15-cent difference. Not a huge deal. Increasing your pricing by that much wouldn't be bad, or taking that loss wouldn't be too bad unless you have a lot of books. So if you're selling like 1,000 units a month, then 1,000 times 15 cents is $150. So that's just to give you an idea of how much you would lose if you did not adjust your pricing. So there's also an additional per page cost, it's 0.012, and that's the old pricing. The new pricing is going to be 0.012, so it's going to be exactly the same. So that's definitely going to vary depending on how many pages you actually have for how much money you may potentially need there, but that's okay. Moving on to the larger trim sizes, it has the same fixed cost of $1, but the per page cost is 0.017, where before it was just all the same. The size did not matter. It was 0.012. So there is definitely a change there. And moving on to the color, let's do Amazon.com 24 to 40. The fixed cost for regular trim size is $360. And the old one was $365 with no additional per page cost, and this has no additional per page cost. So actually, it is cheaper in the new pricing than the old one by 0.05 cents. So that's pretty cool. But if you go to the large trim sizes, it is not cheaper. So again, if you have a book that's larger, then it's going to be $4.20 fixed cost with no per page additional cost. But that's from 3.65 for the old way. So if I do 420 minus 3.65, that's a 55-cent difference, just to give you an idea. Moving on to the 42 to 828 pages. Let's see here. The old pricing was 0.85 per book and 0.07 per additional page. And the new pricing is $1 per book and 0.065 per page. So it's actually cheaper per page, but it's more money for the fixed cost. So you kind of get a difference there. And again, for the larger trim sizes, it's $1 for the fixed cost, but it's more money for the per page at 0.08 when it would be 0.07. So it's definitely going to depend on what book you have. Like I said before, it's going to vary depending on what book you're actually creating. So looking at the paperback specification for Amazon.com, 72 to 600 standard color. It's going to be $1 and 0.027. Let's go over here. It used to be 0.85 and 0.036. So you see how it's going to be different depending on standard and larger size. Now the larger size has a higher per page cost, and I'm just going to keep scrolling down and get to the actual hardcover. And keep in mind, these top two were premium color ink, and this bottom one was standard color ink. So it's going to vary, like I said, depending on your book size, your page count, what colors you have. It's all going to be different. So this is a hardcover printing cost, and I'm not going to go through this entire list because you can just read it the same way we read the other one. But again, the size of the book is going to matter on what the fixed cost is. So we'll start with the first one, hardcover, black ink, 75 to 108. Old cost was $680, new cost $680. But the larger trim size, new cost is $749. So that's a 69-cent difference, I believe. Neither have an additional per cost, except for unless you move down to the new pages. But let's just scroll down to the premium color. So Amazon.com premium color for hardcover, fixed cost used to be $550 and 0.07 for additional. New cost is going to be $5.65 for regular trim size and then 0.065 for per page. And then the larger trim size has the same fixed cost, but it has a higher per page of 0.08. So it's definitely going to vary. Now, if you go over to your actual dashboard, you can actually go to the pricing details on any book you want to, or you can create a new book and go to the pricing details page that way. I have my personal book open on the paperback and hardcover, as well as a scrapbook paper to kind of show the differences. So my personal book, I believe, is a 6x9 book. It may be a 5x8, but I'm thinking it's a 6x9. Either way, the pricing would be the same, as that's below the large trim sizes. And my current pricing is $5.99 for the paperback with a royalty of $144. So printing is $215. Now it's showing me after June 20th a difference. So the difference would be a royalty of $1.29 for a printing cost of $230. So the difference here is going to be 15 cents for royalty because of the increase to printing. So this kind of gives you an idea, and it goes through all the different marketplaces. So moving on to the hardcover of the same book, which is more pages. I think it's 70 something pages potentially. I have a price of $14.99. And it looks like it's actually not going to change at all because the printing cost is exactly the same. I'm not entirely sure what size the book is. So actually, let's continue without saving because I don't want to mess anything up right now. But let's go to content and see what size book this actually is. So it's a black and white interior. It's 5.5 by 8.5. Has no bleed. So 5.5 by 8.5. Let's go back to pricing. So looking at the new cost here compared to the old, let's go to hardcover. Hardcover black ink with 75 to 108 pages. Yeah, I must have 75 then. I knew there was a minimum I was trying to reach. So this is a regular trim size because it's lower than the large. It says 680. And then moving over to this one, it also says 680. So again, this is going to be different for every single book, but here's an example of my book pricing is not actually going to change. My royalties aren't going to change. So this is why I think people need to slow down a little bit, do some research, and maybe all their books are affected and maybe they do have a more drastic difference, but not everyone is going to have that drastic difference. You may have books just like this where your royalties are actually not going to be different. But moving on to my best-selling books, that are probably going to have a decent change are scrapbook paper. So I normally make scrapbook paper books that are 8.5 inches by 8.5 inches. They're normally around 40 pages. Sometimes it varies depending on how many designs I do. And I always do premium color unless they're a black and white design. So my current pricing for this book is $8.99, which is actually lower than what I normally do, but this is one I made for a tutorial on Amazon KDP for my YouTube channel, and I'm just been testing out different pricing. So for $8.99, I currently get $1.74 royalty. Printing is $3.65. With the new update after June 20th, my printing will be $4.20 and my royalty will be $1.19. So that's more of a drastic difference than what it was before. That's a 55-cent difference. So if you're selling 1,000 units a month, or I'll do a smaller number, let's just do 100 units a month, which is still a lot, but 100 times 0.55 is $55. So if you were selling 1,000 units, for example, that would be $550 you'd be missing out on. So this can have a significant impact. But I can up this by $1. Let's do $9.99. And my new royalty would be $1.79, which would actually be more than my $8.99, which is $1.74. So this is why I think that this may not actually have as much of a detrimental impact or be really awful for our businesses, because I think a lot of us undercharge our books already, if I'm being honest. And if you can up your price by $1, and depending on what book you have, it may be more than $1 potentially, or like the hardcover book I have, the pricing might not even change. But if you up your book by $1, then it should still sell, in my opinion. At least when I'm buying something, if I really want it and it's good quality, $1 is not going to be shying me away from it. So I think that this is going to be okay, and this is definitely going to impact my prices on my books. And it does state that if I do the $9.99, I'll go back to it, that I would be making, let's see here, $2.34, and instead I'll be making $1.79. So it does stink in that aspect. But if I'm just trying to make the same royalties I've already been making, then I think that is definitely possible to do so, or to at least get very close where it shouldn't be such a drastic change in royalties every single month. So that kind of goes over the actual pricing page, and I'm not going to be changing any of those right now because what I plan to do is this one-time bulk list price update. But I want to go over first the pros and cons of this. This is not something I think to decide lightly on, and especially if you have a lot of books. So when you do this one-time bulk list price update, you can click on it. It says printing costs will change on June 20th, 2023. You can run a one-time bulk list price update on your live paperback and hardcover list prices to continue earning the same royalties. So basically, this is going to change your pricing to match the royalties. So it's not going to up your pricing to a number that you may want. So instead of the $8.99 or $9.99 I want, this is going to up it however much it needs to earn me the same exact royalties. So this will get you some weird pricing. Like I was talking about, the $10.14 or the $8.54. This is not going to be the $0.99. So after this bulk list price change, if you want to have those certain prices, you're going to have to go through and update them all manually. And if you have thousands of books, this is going to be a headache. So why am I deciding to do this instead of manually? Because I have like 260 books or something like that. Not all of them actually sell. So my plan is to do this bulk list price change and then go through my top like 25 books or something like that and manually adjust the pricing. And then I can go through every day and adjust the other ones whenever I have time. But as long as I get my main selling books adjusted to the correct price, then I'm not too worried if the other ones have weird pricing, as they typically don't sell or don't sell very often. And I'm not too concerned about spending more time having to go through and adjust them. I think this is going to be a better option for me personally in the long run than going through them all individually right now and updating them. I think that for a few days my pricing is going to be off, but that's perfectly okay with me. I'll deal with it. But this is not my full-time job right now, even though I wish it was. I'm working on that. So for everyone, this may not be the best decision. It might be better for you to go through all of them individually and manually to make sure that you have the correct pricing and that you don't have a weird price that may steer a customer away. So this is definitely going to be different per person. I also don't want to go through and figure out what books are increasing by what and how much to increase this by that. Like, I just want to go through my top books and adjust the pricing, but I still want to make sure all of mine are adjusted to reflect that I don't lose any royalties. So that's why I am opting to go with the bulk list price change. But I really don't think people need to freak out about this. And I know there's some videos out there that may be a little bit like clickbait, I guess, where people are saying that this is like gonna completely change self-publishing and KDP and everything like that. And I honestly just don't believe it. I don't think there's any reason to freak out. And maybe when this change goes through, I'll be proven wrong, but I really don't think the change is so drastic. Like, we're not upping our books by $5. I mean, maybe, like, I didn't go through every single possible scenario, but for the most part, I think the most that people are going to be updating their books are going to be $1 or $2. And I think that if you have a high quality book, that it's not going to be detrimental to your business. But that's just my opinion on that. Not everyone's going to agree. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim to know everything. I want you all to do your own research on this and make the decision that is best for your business. This may not be the best decision for your business. You may not agree with me. And I guess we'll just kind of see what happens. But I think that it's really going to depend on what books you have on your bookshelf, how many books you have, what type of books they are, how big they are, everything like that, what color printing you use, because that's going to change the actual cost change that's going to be happening to your book. But at least for most of mine, it seems it's going to be under $1 that is going to have to change. But in order to get that specific pricing that I want, I'm going to have to up most of mine to probably $1. and I'm just kind of gonna go from there. So let's walk through this bulk list price change. So yes, I want to bulk update my paperback and hardcover list prices on KDP to continue earning the same royalties. After the printing cost changes, they don't recommend to adjust them till the update is complete, which I don't plan on doing. So let's hit continue. Confirm bulk list price change. Once you confirm you would like to run a one-time bulk list price update on your live paperback and hardcover list prices to continue earning the same royalties after printing costs change, the request cannot be canceled, and that is bolded. Changes can take several weeks. We recommend you don't adjust your pricing, don't make any manual changes. So, and then it says here, learn more about the one-time bulk list price update, but it just brings you to the same page we are already at. And you can scroll down to the optional bulk update and everything like that. And it does note here the bulk update list prices will not include local sales tax, but I'm okay with that. So let's hit confirm and see if it does anything. Bulk list price change. I got a green check mark. On May 17th, 2023, you chose to run the one-time bulk list price update on your live paperback and hardcover prices. Changes take several weeks. Recommend you don't. Man, they really repeated this to cover the whole bases, which is fine. I'm going to hit close. And nothing really happened. Let me just refresh the page and see if this message here will change since I've now accepted doing the bulk update. Nothing changed. If I click on it again, it just says the same thing. So that was very, very easy and straightforward. And hopefully they change the prices sooner than later, so that way I can go through and adjust them all manually to what I want them to be. But I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gave you a better understanding of the changes, and I hope it kind of de-scared you if you were scared or nervous about this change. And again, I could be wrong, but honestly, I don't see this having such a huge impact on KDP that people are not going to be able to do this full time, or people are going to have drastic changes in sales. Like, I really truly think that for a majority of people that this is going to be okay. And I understand as business, Amazon has costs and profits that they need to meet or they want to meet. So I know that this was probably bound to happen eventually. And I think it could have been a lot worse. And I think it's great that some books don't even have a price increase. So I think this is something that everyone needs to just go through their own bookshelf and do their own research on and try to figure out how this is going to personally impact them. But I hope this was helpful. I hope this cleared things up. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Just please remember to be kind. We're all in this together. We're all just trying to help each other. And I would love any other tips or input you have. If there's something I missed in this video or some sort of other information that you want to share that would definitely be helpful for people to know, then feel free to do so. So if you made it to the end of this whole video, thank you so much, because honestly, you're helping support my channel. Everyone that clicks on this video, comments, likes, shares, everything like that is completely supporting this channel and helping me build my own income online. So if you've made it to the complete end of this video, then I would love it if you could drop an emoji in the comments. I'm trying to think of a specific emoji to do, but honestly, just drop any sort of animal emoji, maybe your favorite animal emoji in the comments with no other context, so that way I know that you actually made it through this entire video, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope that you have a great day.